I mean, have you ever heard of Arnold Schwarzenegger? Some of the best biceps of all time? I thought you had. What's going on, YouTube? I wanted to make a quick video today just to talk about why I named my channel Golden Era Gains. Um, there's a lot of fitness channels out there, a lot of good ones. But of course I'm new. I've only got a few videos up, so trying to get into this thing and, you know, just make some content that's good and maybe people enjoy some of the things that I have to say or some of the tips that I have. But back to the Golden Era Gains channel name. The reason I named it Golden Era Gains is because I was brought up during the golden era, I would say, of bodybuilding. I was born in 1972. So the era that I first remember as a young boy going into my preteen years and then on into my teenage years, I remember guys like Arnold Schwarzenegger, considered the best in the world ever, of all time. Lou Ferrigno, Robbie Robinson, Frank Zane, all these guys that the aesthetics were really good. The mass compared to today was different. You have all these mass monsters today, but at the time in the 70s, they didn't have access to the nutrition, the information, or the drugs that the guys these days have access to. And that's just the way it was. It's just a different era. So, Arnold Schwarzenegger, as good as he was, his body just wasn't as muscular, even though it was extremely muscular, as some of the guys today. They just didn't have the tools that these guys have today. So, but I still admire that era greatly, because those guys worked very hard. They didn't have the tools that these guys today have, but they still presented very muscular physiques. And it was just an intriguing era, to grow up in. I grew up in that time, and then I got to see Pumping Iron when I was a teenager, and that was very influential. And me wanting to be in fitness and lifting weights and working out and stuff like that. And although I never aspired to be a professional bodybuilder, I always wanted to be in good shape, have some muscle tone, and just be fit. And so that's what I've always tried to do throughout my whole life, decade after decade. As I said, I was born in 72, and now I'm 52 years old. So I still am in pretty decent shape. I still work out at least 5 days a week. I still take supplements. I still try to be fit, and I'd like to continue that as I get older. And so I thought Golden Era Gains would be a good title and a good channel to appeal to not only anybody that really wants to work out, be fit, but especially the older guys. There's a lot of guys out here in their late 30s and in their 40s, certainly in their 50s, that think, oh, well, that's just the way it is. I'm getting older and just let myself go. And, you got the big belly out here and you're just not fit anymore. And you're not as active as you used to be. And you don't feel as good as you used to. And a lot of that is really because people just stop putting in the effort to be fit. They stop putting in the effort to exercise, to work out. And I mean, we all have busy lives. I get it. A lot of people work full-time jobs. I work a full-time job. It's a very labor-intensive job at times. So I understand exactly what it means to work a full-time job, work 40 hours, sometimes 50 hours in a week, and still I manage to make it to the gym at least 5 days a week. So, you know, it's just a mindset. You have to just tell yourself, this is part of what I do. You know, it's part of my daily routine. So you have to make it automatic. You have to make it, just like everything else you do in your life every day, you have to make it where it's part of what you do. And you have to get that cemented in your mind, and that'll just help you. It'll help you just say, you know what, even on those days when you're tired, I'm tired a lot of times. A lot of times when I get off work, I really don't feel like going to the gym. I just don't. But I've already had a conversation with myself and I said, this is what you do, you know, so go do it. Don't don't be a loser. Get up and go do it. So I usually get home from work. Sometimes I feel extremely energetic. Sometimes I don't. And on those days that I don't, I still go through those steps of getting myself to the gym. I change into my gym clothes. I fix a pre-workout drink if that's what I'm going to take with me. I get myself prepared mentally. I get in my truck. I drive to the gym. Even if you don't feel like it, I still do that. And what typically happens is by going ahead and going forward with those steps, once you get your body inside the gym and you get on that first exercise, there's a switch that clicks in your mind. And once that switch clicks in your mind and you get a few reps in, you start feeling a little better. You're like, okay, I don't feel quite so bad. I'm not so tired. I do have some energy. I've still got some gas in the tank. And then you just get it going and you go through your workout. And that's what I would encourage you guys to do. Just make it a habit and it'll serve you so much better than looking at it like, oh man, I got to go to the gym today, or oh man, I don't feel like it. Make it a habit, go through the steps and the process, and you'll find that it'll become easier and easier and easier. And the more you go, the easier it's going to get. So that's what I found for myself. So the golden era of bodybuilding, some of the greatest, all those names that I mentioned earlier are still mentioned today as far as the bodybuilding world goes. Arnold probably the most because he went on to be a huge movie star in Hollywood and do all the great things that he did in Hollywood and whatnot. And he still has a presence in Hollywood today. And he's very well known, obviously. And then the next era that came along, I would probably be in high school. You had Sean Ray, Mike Christian, Barry DeMay, Rich Gaspari, Lee Haney, one of the greatest to ever do it, Lee Haney. That was pretty much the start, very fringe start of when the mass monsters came in, okay? So Lee Haney's era, one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time, an absolutely magnificent physique, a lot of musculature. He was extremely muscular. But the guy came along during that era named Dorian Yates. Dorian Yates competed against Lee Haney. Lee Haney was kind of at the end of his career. I mean, not really age-wise. He probably could have competed longer. But he had already won, 7 or 8 Mr. Olympias. He beat Dorian Yates, I believe. And then he just kind of went off into the sunset like, okay, it's time. When he did that, Dorian Yates came along and took the helm. And Dorian Yates had, a lot of mass. He was a mass monster. He got bigger and bigger and bigger to the point to where they nicknamed him the Shadow because he was so big. And that ushered in an entire new era of bodybuilding. Not a worse era, not a better era, but a bigger era where guys were larger and larger and larger. And a lot of that has to do with not only the training techniques and stuff, but I mean, let's be honest, it had a lot to do with the drugs they were taking. They had access to a lot more drugs, a lot easier, and there was a lot more knowledge on how to use these drugs. Back in Arnold's day, Frank Zane's day, Lou Ferrigno's day, those guys, you know, a lot of the drugs that they took were of the oral type. They took a lot of Dianabol, Winstrol, stuff like that, that was in tablet form. Very harmful to the liver, metabolized by the liver. And so those guys, they would get on the drugs that they knew about, and then they would prepare for a show, and then they would get off of them. They didn't stay on these drugs all the time. Well, these guys today, they're never off. These guys, these mass monsters that you see, they're on all the time. Oh, sure, they cut some of them back sometimes, but they're always on something. They're probably on testosterone all the way through the year, and at doses that are above what the normal person has in their system. So these guys, they don't wither down to a normal size and then grow back up. A lot of these guys just stay big all year long. So anyway, that's the differences between the eras, in my opinion. And training techniques have come a long way. There's been a lot of scientific knowledge that's developed over the years that give people an upper hand that they didn't have in the 70s. Access to the internet, you know, they didn't have that back in the 70s or in the 80s, or in the early 90s. I mean, the internet just came along in the 90s, so everybody before that didn't just have the ability to jump on Google and look up training tips. They learned everything from the guy at the gym that was there with them, or someone they knew, or some mentor. That's how they learn. So anyway, I just want to say, appreciate you guys. I hope you got something out of this video. Like I said, Golden Era Gains is a new channel. I plan on making a lot more videos and hopefully improving my videos. This is all kind of new to me, so something I've been wanting to do for a long time, but just never really did. Until a couple weeks ago, I decided, you know what? I'm not getting any younger. 52 years old. I'm still into fitness. So maybe I have something to offer someone. Maybe someone will want to listen to something I have to say. So anyway, if you guys like any of the content that I put out there, do me a favor. Give it a like. Give it a share. And certainly subscribe, because I'm going to be coming up with a lot more videos soon. Some training footage from the gym. Just all kinds of stuff that I have ideas for. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll be seeing you soon. Later.